Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. Today I got my good friend Shana from Missouri. How are you?
Hi, Jerry.
You've been on the podcast before. We talked about another gem, Bells of Freedom. Remember
Bells
that?
of Freedom. Yes,
That
I
was
think
kind
that
of
was probably one of your more critically acclaimed episodes of the podcast.
well, I love that song, and people don't talk about that song enough.
They
And I
don't.
was like, it's such a gem. And that brings us right into our conversation today. We are going to talk about another underrated gem, a song that even the die-hard fan base doesn't talk about enough. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about a track called Happy Now, which is the 11th track on The Circle, the 2009 album. So
Yes.
this song, just to kind of do an overview, this song was written by John Ritchie and Desmond Child. And like I said, it's very underrated. A lot of people will talk about The Circle, which is a fantastic album. But a lot of
Yeah.
people will praise, When We Were Beautiful, Superman, Thorn, and Live Before You Die. But a lot of people forget like the really other good tracks like Fast Cars and Happy Now and Broken Promise. And does
Broken Promised Land.
yeah, I see that song get a lot of love, and it's become one of my top favorites on the album.
Me too. It's way, way up there. But I never hear anyone mention Happy Now.
Well, we're going to start a trend now. Hashtag happy.
That's right.
Um, so this song, I remember there was an interview, and forgive me, I don't remember the source, but I remember there was a 2009 interview where John talked about the circle, and the circle was really inspired by the change in presidency with Obama becoming president, and the world hopefully becoming a better place. And Happy Now is specifically for that. It is about Obama's, becoming president, and can I be happy now? Are we going to start seeing change now and the seem better?
Right.
It's one of those songs that I think it's about just tired of the challenges and the despair, and it's trying to find the optimism. Kind of like Someday I'll Be Saturday Night, where you're just down on your luck and you
Hmm.
don't see a glimpse of hope, but you believe that there's that hope and you're going to find it. Um, that's why. Sorry, something popped up on my laptop. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Technology. Um, so before we get further into what does the song, because I know you picked the song for this episode, what's the song mean to you?
Well, it came out in 2009, right? And so I had been in a relationship with the same person since like 2001 and basically since I was like 16. And the whole 8 years was kind of just not a good relationship, not a, you know, healthy relationship. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't a good decision for me to have stayed in that relationship, etc. But sometimes you just kind of get like stuck where you are and you can't kind of get yourself out of stuff. And so, um, in 2009, when the song came out, even before, right before the song came out, I was at my breaking point. Like I was done with the relationship. I was checked out of it. I was making plans to move on and we owned a house together, so I was gonna move out and looking for a place to live. And we had like two other times prior kind of broken up, but like stayed together and it never really split apart. But this time, like I had had it, I literally would come home like every day from work and I would put my headphones in with Bon Jovi and like I barely even spoke to him for like weeks and weeks because I was just like completely done with the relationship and ready to move on. And so when this came out, like everything about it, every lyric, everything about the song just really was like, this is me. This is what I'm going through right now. Like I spent 8 years not being happy in a relationship, not doing things for myself, being someone that I wasn't, couldn't be myself, etc. And so it's like this was perfect for me, can I be happy now? Can I let my breath out? Like the whole thing was like exactly what I was going through. And every single lyric was like spot on because I was gonna move out and live on my own and by myself for the first time. And I was gonna get to be, who I wanted to be no matter what, and just be myself and do everything that I wanted to do for me. And then at the same time, I met my husband or my soon to be husband. And so it was just like a whole new world, new life, like was opening up for me. And so this song was just kind of like my anthem.
That's incredible. And you should be really proud of yourself because that is extremely hard for anyone to do. Like, I even have friends who aren't happy in their marriages or relationships and they just want to leave, but they don't because they feel like they're tied, to the house, to the marriage, to asset. But
Yep,
what's the most important is your happiness. And
absolutely.
you did the best thing for yourself because look at you now. You're happy. You're with somebody that
Yes,
makes you happy. And that's what's
absolutely.
so incredible about this song is that even though it was mainly written for, the new presidency, everyone can have a different interpretation of the song. And just like you, I've been in situations in my life where it was, I'm so tired of this. I need a change. I need to find happiness. And so it's just great, how that can be interpreted in different ways, that song.
Yeah, we can all make the song our own. Like
Ex-
John says, we sort
Exactly.
of give the song to you and then you interpret it however it fits for you. But yeah, so this song, and so every time I hear the song these days, I it just gives me an overwhelming sense of joy and like pride.
Yeah.
Like I did that. I went through like all of these lyrics. I went through that. Did everything by myself. I moved out, lived on my own, did the whole thing that, got me to where I am now. And so I sort of sing along with these lyrics with a very proud, joyful, like I did it type thing. So,
And you can inspire, even if someone is listening to this podcast episode right now, you're inspiring them, you know, because like I said, a lot of people feel like they're stuck, and you're not.
yeah,
It might be difficult to move on, but there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way, you know.
yep.
So I'm proud of you. I think you're doing great. So
Thank you. It was, yeah, it's not an easy thing to leave something you've been in, I was 16 when I got in the relationship, and so I had been in the relationship for 8 years.
yeah,
So that was like, a lot of my life I'd been in that
yeah.
relationship.
Well, and you're also
So,
young and evolving you're becoming a teen to a young adult to an adult, and so you're evolving as a person, and that's where a lot of relationships really shift, because you're
yeah.
changing as becoming the person that you are. But so let's get into. I'm going to do everybody a service here. If anyone's listening to this I don't even care if you just turn this podcast episode off after I tell you this. Do yourselves a favor. Happy Now did not get played live too often, but they're one of my favorite performances of the entire Circle Tour. And I'll say this, the Circle Tour and the 2011 tour are probably one of the best tours I've ever seen of the band. Best set list, but I don't want to stray away. What I'm trying to say is go to YouTube, search Bon Jovi, Happy Now, Philadelphia 2010. They opened. Do you know which perform? Okay. They
Yeah.
opened with this song, and I think it was so awesome, because obviously, they had the screen down and, they did
Hmm.
that really cool intro of the band walking in the circle, the boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, you know, and then all of a sudden, it fades out, and then all of a sudden, they opened up with this song. So, you have Richie on the talk box and the
On the
drums.
talk box.
And then, all of a sudden, Tiga does that, and then the keys come in, and then the curtain rises, and there's John. It's such a cool opener. And so,
Yeah.
anyone that's watching this, just turn this episode off, go check that out, come back here, or just thank me later because I just love it. It's such a cool.
I loved how they had shows where they did open with that song.
Yeah,
And to me, I never would have thought they would have picked that song to open the show
no,
with.
and they
But
really
it
played
worked
it.
out really well.
Yeah, they rarely played it. And then all of a sudden, because I remember like watching, night to night and like posting updates about the shows and blah blah blah. This was during MySpace days. And I remember I remember like they did Follow every night, Beautiful, Work for the Working Man, Superman, Bullet. Yeah, Bullet was kind of rare. They did
Here and
Thorn in My
there,
Side
yeah.
almost every night. Never did Live Before You Die. That never got played. Broken Promise Land, I don't think, maybe once. Love's the Only Rule was a staple. Fast Cars never got played. Happy Now barely got played, and Learn to Love never got played. So what I'm trying to say is, I remember like the hype with that when they did. I think that might even been the first performance that they did of that song live. To be honest, it
I
might have
think
been on.
Fargo was the first time.
Yeah,
I think Fargo was when they didn't open it. They didn't
yeah.
open that show.
Wasn't it an encore though for that? I thought it
Oh,
was an
I don't know.
encore somewhere. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so but
Also, one of my favorites was the Dusseldorf show because John they opened with it and John didn't start singing at the right time.
oh really?
And
I'll have to.
and
Dusseldorf?
so he was like 10 plus seconds too late or whatever.
Yeah,
And the amazing thing is the band didn't miss a beat. Like they all had to sort of change the next measure of the
yeah,
stuff. And John is not looking at any of them. He's standing in front of all of them. So they're behind him. And he's just like, oh crap. And he starts going to the microphone and they're kind of trying to get it caught up. And if you don't know the song like the back of your hand, you wouldn't have even noticed that it happened. And that blows my mind. Just like
ab-
that stuff like that and that kind of talent and that kind of poise and professionalism is insane to me. Like,
absolutely.
but
Yeah,
I would have
I'll
had to
have
like
to, yeah,
stop the whole show.
I'll have to search that. So people that just left the podcast to go watch that Philadelphia performance and then came back, now you got to leave again and go watch the Desert. What was that? The Circle Tour?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think
So
it was 2011, so it may have been the
yeah,
live.
yeah, because they never
Uh,
did Happy Now after that tour. Yeah, so it must have been 2000 because Europe was 2011. 2010 was just North America, I believe. And Australia, I believe. Yeah,
yeah, they did Australia and I
yeah.
think London.
London, yeah. Um, so anyway, I think sound wise, I think one of the things I really love, the combination wise, is the talk box and the drums, and then John on the verses. As like if you listen to the verses, I just love the music in the background and the way that John kind of drives the song vocally. Um, that's the highlight sound wise for me. Is there something sound wise that stands out for you? You really
I
like?
mean, I like how the song starts, where it's sort of a fade in thing and it just gets, louder and louder and then builds and builds. And
Mhm.
then the drums really come out. I think the
Yeah.
drumming is really spectacular on this song,
Uh-huh.
particularly the drumming on the chorus. Like
Yeah.
that's always been like one of the really cool things to hear in the background when
Yeah.
the chorus is going on.
I really, I think the drums really drive the song, because
Yeah.
it carries the emotion, if that makes sense. Like the beginning, and then the way, he slows down during the verse and then picks up for the chorus. And then, obviously we'll talk about the bridge, but the way that he comes in, with the bridge and how he drums throughout the bridge, you see, a roller coaster of how he plays, if that makes any sense. Um,
Yeah, and they sort of switch up the beat a little bit when it after the first chorus and they go on to
yeah,
like the second verse. And I love that about like I love it when, you kind of get the song going with like one sort of beat and then you do the big chorus and so now you're like off to the races and they have like kind of a little more peppier beat going on in the background with John's flow with the verses and
yeah.
that's another part of the song that I've always
Mhm.
enjoyed.
Yeah. Let's get into lyrics. I'm gonna go through some of my favorite lyrics and we'll talk. But the opening line, what would you say to me if I told you I had a dream? If I told you everything, would you tell me to go back to sleep? I think that line kind of, pretty much what the song is about. Everyone is just lost and no hope. And then you get into you take a look into these tired eyes. They're coming back to life. Someone believing in change, someone believing in a better future. I think that's about Obama there, and,
Yeah.
and people believe in him. So yeah, I like that opening line. I think that's really kind of sets the tone for the song, what it's, why John wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at these tired eyes. They're coming back to life. Like, that's exactly how I felt when I was deciding to leave that relationship. Like, I'm finally coming back to life. I'm finally, getting ready to, do what I need to do. So I love that line because it's like, yes, coming back to life. I'm there. Aha. Like,
Yeah.
the a
Got hope in
really,
your veins.
yes, got hope in my veins.
I
I
ain't
know I
going
can
back to the
change.
pain.
I ain't going back to the pain. Yeah, I love that part. I mean, just for me, like it reminds me of the couple of times that we started to break up and then I went back, etc. And it's like this time I'm not going back. I'm not going back to the pain. So I just really feel those lyrics.
Yeah. It's great that you mentioned because I never really thought of those lyrics in that way. And so yeah, it's incredible. How about the chorus? I like the been down on my knees. I learned how to bleed. I'm turning my world around. And I think that's like about, you want to make change. You got to look in the mirror and think, how can I make a difference in the world? What can I do? And I think that like that those lines are about, John being the humanitarian that he was, because I don't think the Soul Kitchen was open yet with the Circle, but he was becoming a humanitarian with the Philadelphia Soul at the time.
Hmm.
And so he was
Yeah.
out there, making change. And so I think, been down on my knees, I learned how to bleed. I'm turning my world around. He's seeing everything that's around him. And, like we've heard about the Philadelphia Soul story where he's in Philadelphia, he's looking on the street and there's a homeless person. So that's how I interpret those lyrics. And obviously, with your situation too, you can really relate to your story with those lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole, can I be happy now? Can I let my breath out? Like, is such a sigh of relief for like me to get out of that situation, etc. And so, let me believe I'm building a dream. Don't try to drag me down. Like, I felt like throughout my entire relationship with this person that I was constantly just dragged down. And
Yes.
so that fits so perfectly with me that it's like, yes, I'm doing this, I'm getting out of this, and no one's going to take me down. Like,
Yep.
can't do it anymore. And so, yeah, those lyrics really, hit home. And obviously, I just want to scream out loud and can I be happy now? And the part you were talking about was being down on your knees, learn how to bleed. Like, yeah, I mean, pretty much went through a lot of crap and so ready to move on to better things.
Yeah. Every time I hear this song now, I'm gonna think of you. Just like Bells of Freedom. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
Every time Bells of Freedom comes on, I think of you. I don't know why. Not in a weird way, obviously, but
Right.
I just know it's your favorite song. So I was like, Shana, so
Well, you can do it with happy now too.
every single song that we talk about on the podcast, I'm thinking. Um, let's talk about the bridge because this is my favorite part of the song. And Bon Jovi, they have such a way of bridges.
Yeah.
You're born, then you die. It's all gone in a minute. I ain't looking back because I don't want to miss it. You better live now because no one's gonna get out of life. Let's talk about. We got so much to talk about here. First off, but let's talk about the lyrics of this. Like it's such it's so well written, and the way that John delivers it, and I think Richie also harmonizes on this. Yeah, he does. I kind of wish Richie's vocals were a little louder. I think
Yeah,
musically it kind of shadows him away. Maybe that's how they intended it to be. But I think if
it
Richie was
might have
just
been.
a tad louder, and it might just be the mix. Because I know if you listen to it like on a better sound system, it might be more distinguished. But I was listening to my Jeep this morning or yesterday, and I was like, yeah, Richie could be a little louder. But
Yeah, it's definitely not one of those songs where they wanted the harmony to be a prominent part of it, but
yeah, and John delivers it so well, especially no one's gonna get out
he does.
alive, and he. It's kind of like in Broken Promise Land when he screams that when he builds up to it, and then he screams, "Come on now," and he holds that
Yeah,
note in now.
right.
And I just love the way that John delivers. No one's gonna get out alive. You know,
Yeah, and then staying alive a second time, that and the way he does that as it,
yeah,
transitions to the guitar solo.
yeah. And I think with yours, I don't want to speak for you, but I think like in your story too, like that, those lines really ring true as well. You know, you only, as far as we know, you only get one life to live. You're born and you die. It's all gone in a minute.
Right,
You don't make change now, you're never gonna.
right.
People say, I want to, do this, or I want to do that, but then they keep putting it off. Well, when are you going to do it? You know? So
Right,
I think those lines are all about, just taking control of your life and the world around you and making a change, making a difference and persevering, you know?
right. And I ain't looking back because I don't want to miss it. Like all that's in the rearview mirror, and
Yeah.
so there's no point kind of dwelling on the past. Like just
Yeah.
look forward and keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And I also interpret those lines in a different way too. I ain't looking back because I don't want to miss it. I also think of it as miss it means like if you look back and you miss things
Miss
and you
what's back there.
you're too reflective and you're not looking in the future as well, you're gonna miss things around you. It's like
Right.
if on a different side of a relationship, like say if a relationship doesn't work out and you really miss that person, you're just focused on them and you're not willing to date someone new, well, you're gonna miss those
Right.
opportunities, because
Right.
you're living in the past. So I also interpret lyrics in that way as well. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much taking control of your life and making the most of it, being happy, and so
Can we go back to the second verse? Because I think those are probably my
absolutely,
favorite lyrics.
absolutely, let's go.
Um, so after the first chorus, the beat really picks up, and John's delivery of the next set of verses, I think, is particularly spectacular with the "Can I be happy now? Can I break free somehow? I just want to live again, love again,
I
pick my
love that
pride up
part.
off of the ground." Like
I love that part.
all of that was exactly exactly what I was feeling in my situation. It's like, I want to be happy. I need to break free of this. I want to live again. I want to love again. Like
Yeah,
I need to pick my pride up off the ground and just keep going. And I'm ready to pick a fight, like crawl out of the dark to shine a light. Like that whole thing just hit me so hard because it's like I had lived so many years just not being myself, not doing what I wanted to do, not doing things that were important to me. And so it's kind of like I was in the dark that whole time. And so now I'm gonna go, crawl out of the dark and I'm gonna uh and I'm ready to pick a fight. Like I was ready to fight for me.
yep,
Like, yeah, I'm gonna pick a fight and I'm gonna pick a fight for me this time and I'm gonna be on my side and I'm gonna do what I need to do. And, I ain't throwing stones, got sense of my own, of course. Like, who doesn't, right?
yeah,
And so ain't everybody just trying to find a way home? And it's like, yeah, I was trying to find a way home. Like this wasn't my home. Never felt like it. So I need to find my way home. So all the lyrics in the song, that whole second part there, I think is really my favorite. And the way he delivers them
oh,
is
absolutely.
just like spot on.
Mhm. And you know what? I just sat here and said the bridge is my favorite part of the song, but now I need to revoke that and say the second verse is my favorite because you're right. I love the way that John delivers those lines in it. Especially like when he sings, just trying to pick up my pride up off the ground. I just love the way he delivers it. It's so, and then and then the way that he just he gets angry. Everyone's just trying to find their way home, and
Yeah.
then goes right into the chorus. I think is spectacular. Are there any other lines or lyrics or anything about the song that you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
I think that the guitar solo, even though it's very short, I think it's very fitting.
Yeah,
And I just love the end of it where it's just like, you know, I
all
mean, it's
those
such a
bends.
short guitar solo, but
Yeah,
the very, very end of it and how it's kind of going down and waiting for John to step in with the next chorus. I do like that. Um, and I like I'm always a fan when they do like oh oh oh, I
right.
like ohs and woes. I know people
Oh,
uh
fuck it.
somehow think that
I love
that's
it.
not.
It works.
I love them and I love it when John does them. So,
Yeah,
it's just so soulful, like,
yeah, yeah.
So I do like the ohs.
Yeah, I do love that part, and I love the way that
Oh,
it kind of.
oh, I have to say this before I forget. The very last line, like the can I be happy now? And like the way he just elongates it and,
It fades out.
it
I
was perfect.
love that part. I'm glad you mentioned that because I would have turned off this podcast and go back and think, fuck, I should have mentioned that because it's an important part of the song.
Yes, it's
Yes.
perfect.
So, but yeah, it's such an underrated gem, and hopefully this episode, people will listen and go check this song out and hopefully start seeing a little more love for the song because it's a gem.
It is.
It's one of those songs at the end of the album, and unless you're diehard or really love the album, or it kind of gets forgotten about. So it's a gem. I'm glad you chose it. It needed to be done. Here we are. So,
Yeah, and as
anything
far as
else?
the live performances, I think the one that's my favorite vocally is Rio in 2010. For some reason,
Did they do it in
that
Rio?
one, the vocals were just so so good for me on that one.
Did they
Um,
do it? I didn't realize that they did it in
mhm,
Rio.
yeah, they did. And I really like the Rio one because it's one of the only ones where the crowd is actually singing the lyrics. Like
Yeah.
it seems like most people don't even know the lyrics to that song, and that crowd was singing them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, like I never got to see that song live, so I just have
Yeah.
to live it through them.
That's why I
But
love
the
that.
the
No, go ahead.
vocals in Rio were my favorite for vocals. Overall performance of it, I think Sydney, they did the transition straight from the end of Something to Believe in with the drums beating, and this kind of has a similar drum
Um,
beating at the beginning, which was very cool. And so John really was like pumped for that particular performance. I don't know if it was just because he just finished Something to Believe in, which is a spectacular song
oh
also.
yes.
And so he really carried that into the performance of this song, which was really phenomenal. Really did it justice. I'll put it
Yeah,
there.
that's amazing.
Um,
Yeah, I'm
and
gonna.
then sorry. I think they also did it like in 2013 on the Beloved Because We Can tour. Um, they did it, and that's one of my favorite performances of it because the whole Richie thing had gone down, obviously,
Well, there's
at the
another
beginning of that
interpretation.
tour. And so when John sings that song on at that show, I think it was maybe Birmingham. I don't remember. But oh my God, like the passion and the pain that comes out, like I feel like somehow that was him sort of making a statement about what had, gone on
Yeah,
with Richie, and they were still doing the tour, and like I don't know. So that was another one of my favorite live
yeah.
performances.
And that's another great way to think about the song is what John was going through at the time. And so now, myself included, we're all gonna get off this podcast and just search Bon Jovi Happy Now Life and just watch the
Yes.
Rio and Birmingham and Philly and Dusseldorf and
Yes.
all that. So, but yeah, Shauna, thank you for taking the time to come on today. Thank you for being such a
Sure.
great, great, great friend. If anybody loves John's current white shoes,
Ah,
Shauna runs her own fan club
I
of
should.
she's the president of her own little I Love John's White Shoes fan club. And
Yeah,
if you love those shoes just as much as well, no one can love them as much as Shauna.
no one can.
Go
No.
follow Shauna on Twitter. What's your handle? Shauna loves
It's
white
just my
tennies.
no, I should change my handle name to like John's White Tennies. Um, instead of just my name, Shauna Baldwin. Um, but yeah, no, I'm sorry, but I don't know. Nobody makes the white tennis shoes look better than John. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't happen. He pulls them off so well.
You know
I
what's
can't
funny
help it.
when I post updates online on Twitter and so like JBJ updates, like John with a fan or this or that. Sometimes like I try to crop it a little bit out because John's face could get cut out or whatever. And
Yeah.
so I'll go to crop out the white shoes and just like Bells of Freedom, I think of you and I'm like, I cannot crop these out because Shauna will and actually I did that one
You
day.
did one time. Yeah.
And Debbie Cotter called me out and she tagged you. And then you both went at me. And so
Yeah.
I learned don't cut out the shoes.
Don't crop out the white tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Even if you have to crop off his, half his face, just keep the tennis shoes in
Sacrifice the shoes.
there. Hey, we
So
all have to have our things, right?
exactly.
Some
Yeah.
people like John's hair, which is also cool. Some people like, his smile and all of that, which is also awesome. But I don't know. The white tennis shoes do it for me. I can't help
So, all right, Shauna, thank you so much. I
it.
truly admire you, and I just loved your story, and I'm glad you were able to share that story on here. I know
Thank you.
I'll see you on Twitter land. Stay on. I'm gonna end the recording, and
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me share my story. And thanks for talking about like a completely highly underrated song.
absolutely, we'll have you on again sometime.
Awesome. Appreciate
All
it.
right.